Hello, boys and girls. My name is Mike Kelly from Real Illusion Forum, and of course, here on the net. You can always write me direct at mike@kellytown.com, and I will always answer any questions you have, whether I know the answer or not. I'll answer and say I don't know the answer. In this case, a user wanted me to show braided in hair from a developer called, now I don't remember what they were called, Brady Bun or something. I don't know. I'm not sure what it was. Anyway, so I'm going to do that. So the first thing we're going to do is go to Transformer. I've gone into DAZ, put the hair on a DAZ figure, and now I'm going to go to and exported it, as we always do in all the other videos. Oh, here we go. Braided bun here. I'm not sure. JZ Muni hair. I'm not sure what the developer was, but in any case, we're going to go to the braided bun here. We're going to open that up. Now, one thing you got to be careful with here first. Whenever you're getting hair, as you'll see in a moment, that is not polygon hair, there's two different kinds of hair. Well, actually, there's three different kinds. There's polygon hair, which is hair that is thin strips of polygon materials and mapped on one side with opacity. That's the most efficient hair for animation, because that's the kind you can get to move and everything. There's fiber mesh hair, which is an actual procedural hair that's generated, which I do not recommend using at all. And then there's an object sort of hair, which this is kind of an object hair, as you'll see when we bring it in. There's a fourth kind that we don't, the D-Force hair, but forget D-Force. You cannot bring D-Force hair in from DAZ to Character Creator. So this is an object more than actual hair, and as you'll see in a moment why that's important. So the first thing we're going to do is, it's not cloth. We're not going to bring it in as cloth. We're going to bring it as an accessory. You could bring it in as hair or cloth, but because it's not really hair or cloth, and more of an accessory, that's what we're going to do with it. So I'll show you how in a second. Now, on some machines, some of your slower machines, this is going to take a while. I have an NVIDIA. This is a very high-end Alienware machine. It's got the i9 processor, a lot of RAM, a lot of stuff. Even it has trouble with this, and you'll see why it does in a minute. But on slower machines, you may have some issues with this that will be caused, and we'll show you why in a second. So if we jump here to the hair itself, the actual hair as it comes in, we're going to click on it, you'll see that the hair itself is over 2 million polygons. This is a huge amount for hair. As a matter of fact, as a general rule, we don't want to see more than 100K, and actually 60K or less would be far better. When it's this dense, it's not, first of all, you're never going to get it to animate. I mean, it will stay as one big lump, which is okay in this case, because it is one big lump. But if this were to have strands, for example, to come down, you never get it to animate. And it just takes up a lot of resources. Now, my machine, my graphics card can handle this. Other people's might not. So if you moved it around, you might find a lot of issues with that. But overall, it looks great. So so you say, Mike, well, then what do we do about this? Well, what you have to do is do a polygon reduction on this. And again, the idea is to bring it down to less than 100K, and 60K be ideal. I did run the polygon reduction, and even on my high-end machine, it took about 10 minutes, so I'm not going to do that here. What we're going to do is like on those cooking shows where you already have done things, so I'm going to delete this hair right now and bring in the polygon object that I ran on, and then you'll notice that this is 130. Much better than 2 million, still bigger than I would be comfortable with on a lesser machine. If your machine is not an i9 or doesn't have a high-end graphics card like the NVIDIA 3090, you might want to reduce this again. Just be aware that trying to reduce it down sometimes will cause your machine to crash when it's got that much. But at least I'm more comfortable with this. So there you go. So that's what you have to do. Now, the other thing you might deal with is when we bring the hair in this way, it doesn't have the hair textures applied to it. Because it's an accessory, by default, it applies PBR to it. You wouldn't apply the hair texture to the scalp or metal anyway. The metal, I assume, is these metal pieces that are in the hair. But here, you can go ahead and assign the hair texture if you want. Well, watch what happens when we assign digital hair. Now, watch it for a moment. See the highlights on the hair. I'm going to assign digital hair, and you'll notice the highlights all disappear. You might say, well, Mike, what the heck happened there? Well, what happened was that the digital hair requires ID map and the root map, and we've talked about these in flow map in the other videos. I'm not going to go over these again, but particularly you need a root map in particular. They're not hard to generate. Look at my other videos to how to do that. But without the root map, you can't do strands, and you can't do highlights, and you can't get the specular colors. You notice that all uses the ID map. So rather than go into that, I'm just going to point out that you would have to have that ID map in order to get that kind of glow on it. So anyway, but using a regular PBR texture, this is what you get. So that's basically all you have to know about this particular kind of hair. Again, the biggest key is reduce it down, because as a polygon, it's way too heavy. And hopefully that answers all your questions. And if not, you can always send me an email, and I will see you on the forums.